Hello, the game has started. It's me to go first. I have the blank. I can see tub fast, which places the B on the double letter square. The only higher scoring move would be with the F on that square, but the additional points are not very many, so I'd rather save time. Tub fast 78. Pretty good. That looks close to a bingo. I can't see a 7, but I've got a lot of floaters to consider. I can see a few 9s through a T or an S, realistic in its anagrams. I've got the ABLE ending and the IBLE ending. Nearly biracial. Can't see anything through the F. Now, what about the S? Well, how annoying. This looks an excellent rack, or a pretty good rack, rather. All the tiles are bingo, only the duplicate I is problematic. But I'm not seeing a bingo. Through an N, I would have ironical. I'm just going back through the floaters to see. Ah, great, there is an N. That iodizing is good. There goes the second blank. So I do have ironical. It doesn't get doubled. I've also got an O to consider, which is in a double lane. That's not very likely because it would give me 5 vowels. And the G in row K is also a double lane. Can't see anything there. I think I will go with ironical. Ironical 64. And another good rack. Again, 4 vowels. I can't see a 7-letter bingo with this rack. But I do have a few floaters to consider. I have coteries and esoteric in column 2. Coteries not quite reaching the double word square. And esoteric missing by a wider margin. Now, do I have an alternative bingo? I have the D of iodizing and the L of ironical as the best looking candidates. Well, I'm not seeing anything through the L. I've got the IES ending, I've got the IC ending. Now, what about the D? Discoer plus an E. Well, I'm not seeing anything, so hopefully the T of tub fast will remain available. And it does. Great. Nothing new from my opponent. I think this is the better of the two options because it scores more. Coteries 68. Well, my bingo run comes to an end, but I do have high scoring tiles and a couple of vowels to go with them. I have woven on my rack. A good score for my opponent, 44 points. Despite my run of bingos, I'm just 70 points ahead. Now I'm looking at column 8 to see if I've got a play down here, running parallel to iodizing, starting with the triple word square. but that would require either an N or an O next to the I. And can't see such a play. I've got vowel and woven on my rack. Through O and R I would have overblown. I could play wove at the bottom of column 4, making we. 32 points, that's a good score. The rack leave of BLN is not great. I'm looking in row E and column 11 for a double-double, even if it's not a bingo. Now, I would prefer to play woven or vowel than wove, because I would rather have 2 consonants rather than 3. Ah, well, I do have a play down here. I have below. It does keep the V, but that's not a disaster. 41 points is a big score. I'm taking out a couple or 3 useful floaters, albeit providing an E. But I certainly prefer the rack leave of 2 consonants to 3. Now, have I missed a way of scoring around this and playing the V? Well, I don't think so. 41 points is quite a lot. Great. That doesn't look too bad at all. A few duplicate tiles, but they look quite synergetic. Now, what about Averan? That's ringing a bell. And what about Averain with an E on the end? I could be making these up. And by making up, I mean confusing them with something else which is similar. So, do I try it? I think since I'm ahead, I will. I can see this coming off. I probably am confusing it with something. But I can't, for the life of me, think what I'm confusing it with. Well, it won't be a disaster to get this back on my rack. That's not a great rack. Just waiting for my opponent to challenge. It comes off. Okay. Maybe it's just Averan, but there's nowhere for that. So what I'm looking to do now is play off the V and the duplicate tiles. Now I note I could have played knave in row O for 36 points. My opponent may well take that spot now. So where can my V go? Well, I can go next to OW at E6. But I can't see a good way of playing in that spot. Yeah, I think the K is the best spot on this board at the moment. Now, do I have a double-double through OW in row E? Can't see one. I could play re a vowel in that spot. 24 points. That would be fine in terms of rack leave. And it's scoring more than 20 points, which is good. 42 tiles left. The rear vowel spot's been taken, but the knave spot remains available. Great. This does leave 2 R's, but the score is good. And I'm getting rid of the V and the duplicate A. 36 points. Great, I didn't draw any more R's. There is only one unseen, and this rack looks pretty good. Just the floating A and L of Irenical to consider, although there is now a 7-letter bingo lane in row N above the E of knave. Through an E, I would have earthier. Ah, and look, there is an E in below. So, I do have a bingo. Earthier and heartier. This is going to open up a 9-timer, but they are rare and shouldn't stop you from playing bingos. Earthier 76. And another nice rack. Through a C, I would have canoodle. Quite a few floaters in earthier to consider, but I'm not seeing a bingo. The vowels aren't particularly helpful. Now, my opponent's provided a floating R and Y. Do those help me? And I've still got the 7-letter bingo lane in row N available. Well, the R just duplicates the R in earthier. I could play Wanley in column 15, which would take out the, well, both triple lanes. I probably ought to play there. But is there a higher scoring play than Wanley? And is there a bingo with this rack? 13 minutes on my clock, 20 tiles unseen. So, is there a bingo through an R? Can't see one. Looney would be better than Wanley because it retains the E, only 2 E's unseen. Now, what about Dooley? How is that spelt? I certainly don't want to have another phony. Looney feels weak, or rather suboptimal. 24 points. Quite a good rack leave. Just counting the remaining vowels. 8 vowels out of 27 tiles, so certainly a vowel-heavy rack leave is fine. Just checking to see if the Z's been played, and it has. Because I'm providing a Z spot next to the O. So this doesn't feel great, but it does have some good strategic things going for it. Just pausing in case there's something better that comes to mind, but nothing is coming to mind. Pretty good. Nice balanced rack. Can't see a bingo. Column 15 is pretty good. I've got Grody in that spot. Through an I, or beginning with an I would have ideology. Ah, that plays down from the I of earthier. Well, that's an unexpected bingo given my rack leave and the tightness of the board. I'll just pause and see what my opponent's done. So he's played hum for 31. Right, just playing off the H and the M. 14 tiles left. Ideology, 86. And another fabulous rack. Now, Sotaid, I think, has gone. Used to be good and has now gone. Great opponent challenges. This time it's good. He loses 5 points. So, Sotaid did not have any anagrams, so I don't have a 7-letter play in row N. I've got the floating R. A 7-letter play beginning above it would, and ending with the S would fit in. This is a pretty good set of tiles. I can't see anything through that R. Now I've got an S for sticking on the end of Talak, and my T can go next to the, or go under the U. And then my E can go under an just where my opponent's played. Well, I hadn't seen anything fabulous anyway. Tex takes a T after it. Which I have. 5 tiles left. Now, is there any point in playing for a further bingo? Well, I don't think my opponent's going to bingo. The remaining tiles are 7 out of these 12 at the bottom of your screen, and that's not a bingo-y set. I do have the T for going underneath text, so row N is a bingo lane. So if I played off an E and a U, which I can do up here, I'd have a pretty good 5-letter set, and I'd be keeping open row N and column 10. And I'm taking out quite a hot spot for my opponent. There are quite a few high-scoring tiles left, and he could easily have a 40-point play down here, which I don't have. I'm just looking at the tiles in Ideology to see if any of those are floaters for bingos, and they're not. Yeah, I'll go with this. Not great. Now, I was probably foolish to play off 2 vowels, given the shortage of vowels. Oh well. I think the game is won. I'm 170 points ahead. 54 points for my opponent. That's pretty good for him. 1 tile in the bag. Now, shall I play off just my W and a fish for a bingo? I think I will, since I am ahead. I just need to avoid blocking any bingo lanes. Which that achieves. That scores 10 points. I'm thinking of playing somewhere else because my opponent might be attracted to where I've played and block column 10. So, even though I'm going to score less, I think I'll play here. Or here, totally out of harm's way, 8 points. The alternative would have been to play Thor in column 12 for 33 points. So I should only really be doing this when play if I have bingos to get. So do I have a bingo with the remaining tiles through the... or do I have any 7-letter bingos with the remaining tiles? Haven't seen anything. Well, dampest. No, that doesn't fit. And stamped doesn't fit. Pedants does work. So if I drew an N, I would have pedants. However, If I draw a tile, my opponent will know what I have and will block. So I need to have a second lane which plays, and that would be column 10. Can't see anything there. No, I don't think Wem is the play. I think Thor's a lot better. And Few even better. 43 points. Now, what was... I drew the eye. I drew the eye. Now, I've got quite a good 5-letter set. And I've still got the T for going underneath text. So it was a good substitution of the P for the T. Not only did it score more, but it retained the T. Can't see a way of using the text hook. Oh, well, yes I can. I can play deeters and adits for even more. So where is my second out? Well, I certainly do have adits in column 10, making ST. I've also got adits and talax. Although that could be blocked along with the text hook. I note that my opponent does have a T. He was a little bit unlucky that the final tile in the bag was a vowel, given that he's so desperately short of them. Geo takes an A in front, but I can't slot in a 5-letter play in that spot. Knave takes an S, so I might have something through the C, or beginning with the C. Can't see anything. 7 minutes on my clock. My opponent takes out the talax and text spot. So I've got adits and ST. That's not going to score very much. Text takes an S, so do I have something in row O? I've got 7 minutes on my clock. Nope, can't see anything. So where would score more than adits? Six minutes on my clock. Quite a few anagrams here. Column 14 is a possibility. Tsadi is good, that nearly fits. Gil not good. Well, when you've won by such a big margin, sometimes it's hard to really focus on eking out every last point. So I think I'm going to play adits. For 10. Just wait for my opponent to formally end the game, which he does. And the final score, 402 for my opponent, 543 to me. A winning margin of 141 points. So a massive, massive win and a massive spread. Let's see what I missed. So it was me to go fast. Tub fast looks like it may have been the only bingo, so pleased to have spotted that. My opponent's rack, 3 eyes, so great spot by him of iodizing. My rack, ironical, was the only bingo, so glad I didn't spend longer looking for it. Looking for another, rather. Now, this was my opponent's rack. He played 4A. And there was an alternative bingo. There was Creolize through the L, which would have scored 2 more points, so not a lot in that. My opponent's rack, 44 points, and this is where my bingo run ended. And I played below for 41. And I think that's better than blow. Blow keeps the E but drops 7 points. I don't think the E is worth 7. My opponent's rack, he plays pink, and this is where I disgraced myself with my phony. And yeah, knave would have been good. My opponent's rack, he plays vag rather. Then knave stays available. My opponent's rack, he plays talak, and I have earthier, which was the only bingo. Now my opponent's rack, he plays query. Now, did I miss a bingo here? No, I didn't. And I really didn't like my play here. I played loony. It was good strategically, it just felt weak from a score perspective. Scored 24 points. But it did take out both triple lanes, and not many, well, only Dooley and Looney achieved that. So maybe Dooley was the play. My opponent's rack, no vowels for him. And now I rather fortunately had ideology. My opponent's rack, he plays tex. Great, I didn't miss a bingo with this rack. This was a nice rack, and I played URE, which wasn't the right play. Possibly just UR would have been, and I say that because there were only 2 or 3 vowels left, so playing ADWEST, keeping ADWEST would have been a good 6-letter set, especially with the bingo lanes in row N and column 10. So I don't like my play there. My opponent plays jaw for a nice score, and this was my rack. And I played few for 43. N10 wasted. Yeah, that would have been quite nice as well. My opponent's rack, he plays munts. And finally, well, I played adits for 10. There was only 14 more points available. Stadia across to the A of vag. So that was the end of the game. Pretty exciting game with lots of bingos. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.